Alright, I'm back and we're doing another rant of the week. And today we're going to be talking about Bumblebee, the character of Bumblebee. This is the masterpiece Bumblebee, in case you were wondering. And like the other, like all of the rants of the week, I'm going to start with my least favorite and work my way up to my favorite. And easily my least favorite one was animated Bumblebee. I absolutely hated it. You know, there were some moments in the animated show that I actually thought were really funny or really good, but Bumblebee was just a little whiny little bitch, and I fucking hated it. There was probably never a moment, and he was too playful. You know, way too playful. Yeah, it's a kid's show. I understand that, but there was never a moment in that show where I was like, "Well, I'm glad Bumblebee was here." No. I wanted him to die. You know, he was so bad in that show that I would almost say it's not worth watching the show because of him, and that's bad. And that's really all I have to say about the animated show. I mean, again, you know, it's like some of the characters, like Megatron, being such a ruthless badass that he's killing people left and right. You know, yeah, he had a pretty good showing in that show. Prime, well, he's not the best Optimus Prime. I did like how they redid the whole Prime. Is like our version of Captain. So that Prime means that they're captain of a ship. You know, I liked that. And I liked how he was kind of like, you know, a new leader and just kind of getting started. And he's not in charge of the Autobots. He's just in charge of this group. Bulkhead was awesome because that was the first time we really got a Bulkhead like that. And because of that, we actually have a character that we've seen come back again and again, both in Prime and in Age of Extinction. They misnamed that character. He was not Hound. That was not Hound. That was definitely a Bulkhead type character. So there's that. Then we get into again where it gets a little bit more difficult, a little bit more tricky. And I have to say, number 3 would actually have to be G1. Because think back on G1. Think back real hard. Okay? Yeah, okay, we're in the mindset of the G1 show. What did he do? I don't know. He hung out with the humans, which is funny because, like, really when the show first started, it was Hound that was hanging out with Sam, and then for some reason he got replaced with Bumblebee. Not Sam, Spike and Sparkplug. First it was Hound, and then it was Bumblebee, and it's just kind of like, okay, you know, whatever. And then, you know, Bumblebee hangs out, but most of the time he's needing to call for backup because he's just a little scout. Half the time he doesn't scout very well. He really just didn't do a whole lot. He was never, I mean, which was actually kind of cool. Doesn't really put him in a high standing for my particular list, but it was kind of cool because he was never the unsung hero. He was just a scout, and that's all he was. He was not like I don't think he ever saved the day, really. I could be wrong. You know, maybe he did save the day once or twice. But I can't think of a time where he saved the day and everyone's like, "Yay, Bumblebee!" No, I can't think of one. It was always just kind of like, Bumblebee's here. Okay, he's in the background, or he's talking about something, and he's doing something with the humans, or something to the humans. Who knows? Creepy little bug. But honestly, he just I mean, Spike saved the day more than he did. So it's just one of those. My vent is right here, and it's kind of blowing cold air, and I'm like, why? Anyway, so I don't know how he became such a popular character when he didn't do a whole lot throughout the series. I mean, in the movie, he got eaten by Unicron, but then got saved, because apparently when Unicron eats a planet, it apparently picks off the individual people on the planet and puts them on a conveyor belt so that people have a chance to save them. Who knows? I would assume that once he eats something like that, it would just get mashed up entirely and turn into power. I mean, you don't see him filtering the planet out when he eats the first planet. But who knows? So yeah, he sat the whole movie out, and then season 3 kicks in, and he's barely in that. And then near the end, he gets horribly damaged by Superion, who has the hate plague. He gets rebuilt into Goldbug. So honestly, he didn't have the best showing. He was just kind of there. Another generic Autobot in the background. It wasn't until recently that people started remembering, like, oh yeah, he was popular. And then they repopularized him with characters that weren't his. Unfortunately, I do have to put the Bay version next, because he did have a good showing in those movies, aside from the fourth one where he wasn't really there. Again, he was more background, but you get to know him a little bit better, even though he could talk at the end of the first one, but apparently he can't talk in the second or third one or fourth one, which was stupid. And he forgot where he put Sam. Yeah, I take it back. I'm gonna have to put the Bay version as number 2, and G1 as number 3. But yeah, the Bay version. It was cool to see the action sequences with Bumblebee. Doing things like where he despines Ravage. That was pretty awesome. And he kills all the appliance Decepticons. But honestly, there wasn't really a whole lot in the show or in the movies that made me sit there and go, okay, this is good. Still better than animated. And that's really all there is to that. That's it. I mean, Bumblebee's such a shit character, really. And then we get into the Prime scenario. Both Prime and the movies. Yeah, he had a great showing in Prime, really. But it's not Bumblebee. I don't know where people are getting this idea that Bumblebee's some sort of sports car, sports car, race car, muscle car, whatever you want to call them. And he goes out there and kicks some major ass. I don't know where people are getting this idea. That is much more of a hot rod character that they were all playing. I would maybe Hot Rod or maybe a Blur. Let's see. We'd go Prowl. That's a Prowl character, fast car that kicks the shit out of things. Sunstreaker, yeah, definitely a Sunstreaker because he's a flashy yellow car. I'm sorry, it's not Bumblebee. This is Bumblebee, the behind the scenes, guy that befriends the humans and just wanders off and does his own thing when the real fights, when the shit's hitting the fan. He is nowhere to be found. The movie Bumblebee was just garbage. And then the Prime Bumblebee, he had a fun showing where he was doing a lot of stuff. And he had some character development. I would say the best parts was when he got his T-Cog stolen, and you see that little bit of darkness in him. That was cool. And he definitely went on a killing spree and killed a lot of humans. That was cool. And then we get at the end where he's the one that kills Megatron, which was a total twist. And no, I didn't see. I mean, I saw him coming back. I mean, obviously he would come back when he fell in that little pool of regeneration stuff. I mean, it was like, oh, well, he's coming back. But I didn't think he'd come back and knife Megatron through the back and kill him and be voiced by the dude that played the voice of Batman Beyond. I was like, yes! I love that guy! I can't think of anything else he's been in, but I loved him in Batman Beyond, so it was cool to see him come back. And then there was the movie. The Prime movie, which was bleh. But I know this was a shorter one than Starscream and all that, but honestly, I think Bumblebee is probably the most overrated character. I know kids love him because he's Bumblebee, but honestly, you could throw anybody in that lot. Kids love Optimus Prime because he's Optimus Prime. Kids love Starscream because he's a jet. You know, kids love, race car number 7 because it's a race car. They're just they're overthinking the popularity of Bumblebee. It's not Bumblebee that they're a fan of. It's who's ever on the screen. And they should just really stop calling him Bumblebee because it's not the Bumblebee character anymore. I mean, the new one's even got more of an Optimus Prime looking head. It's not Bumblebee. He stopped being Bumblebee when he stopped having the little horns. The closest incarnation of Bumblebee that we've had since G1 really was animated, and that's pathetic. Like I said, the Prime one should have been a Hot Shot or a Hot Rod, or I think Hot Shot was basically a Bumblebee when they couldn't get the name for Bumblebee. He doesn't count. But Hot Rod should have been in the movie instead of Bumblebee. Because Hot Rod, he befriends humans too. He was good at it. He was friends with Daniel, and he could have a really good showing in a situation like that. And then in the Prime show, it should have been Substreaker. Or again, you could have used Hot Rod. I think if Hasbro really wanted to, they really could push the popularity of any character they want. And so they could push the character of Hot Rod up and make kids a fan of Hot Rod. I mean, the underdog hero, kids love that story. I love that story. The annoying little yellow car that hangs out in the back, but then all of a sudden is his master fighter. Not so much. So, anyway, I'm not the biggest fan of Bumblebee. I'm a huge fan of this toy. I still recommend getting the Masterpiece toy because it's just incredible. But then again, that might be just because I've transformed a whole bunch of crap third-party figures. Anyway, I don't like the character Bumblebee. I know a lot of people do, but I am not a fan of him. And anybody that is a fan of him, and I know a lot of people say, we have to be open to change. And I am open to change. I like seeing Optimus Prime go more Dirty Harry than John Wayne. Where he's ready to just shoot anybody that walks in his way. I like that. I like Megatron being a little bit more ruthless, but having a little hint of humanity in there. And have that hint of doubt that you can see in his eyes when he's double thinking himself. Starscream, who actually is successful at what he does. RC that went from, little race car that didn't do anything in the G1 to an actual character in the Prime show, or in the Prime, yeah, in Transformers Prime. I'm all for change, and I'm all for let's try something new for a while. What I am not for is changing the character entirely. The only thing that the Bumblebee from Prime and G1, or the Prime in the movies, have in common with G1 Bumblebee is the name and the color of the car. That's it. There's nothing else there to tie the two together. It's just, it's mind-blowing. Like, Bumblebee is not an action hero. Bumblebee is not a fighter. Bumblebee was a scout. He would see what was going on, and he'd go tell the actual Autobots what's going on, and they would go take care of it for him. Bumblebee wasn't a coward, but he wasn't a frontline soldier like he is in Prime, where he's besting Megatron in certain scenes. That's just not Bumblebee. Yeah, I hope you guys are understanding where I'm coming from. I mean, I'm not against change. It's just, when you got characters like Sunstreaker, who was a fighter. He was a warrior class Autobot. He was one of the Autobot cars. He would jump headlong into battle, especially with his brother Sideswipe. And you have other cars too out there. Personality-wise, the way he was fighting was more inclined, like I said, with Sunstreaker, Hot Rod, any of the Nissan cars, Sideswipe. Really any of them. Tiger Tracks. I don't know anything about Tiger Tracks, so I can't really say. I was just thinking yellow car. But it's like any of those cars in G1 were more fighters than Bumblebee was. And any one of those cars would fit that persona a little bit better. And, like I said, a character like Hot Rod, who was a muscle car, should have been this muscle car that was befriending humans, because Hot Rod befriends humans. That's what he does. And then he's a fighter, and he's a quick fighter. He's a fast thinker. You see him in that first animated movie. He came up with the plan to drive his way out of the Sharktron tank. Things like that are the things that the Prime and the movie Bumblebee were doing, and therefore should be what should have been a different character, because that's not Bumblebee. That's my thought. It's just, when you change a character, a little bit here and there to keep with the times, or maybe change the alt mode because, Megatron can't be a gun anymore. Okay, I get it. Parents don't like buying guns for their kids. I get it. Make him a tank. That works. Make him a jet. That works. Change him a little bit. Things like that. I'm okay with it. If that's the way we have to play it, that's the way we have to play it. And updating Megatron from being villain of the week to being an actual villain, I like that. Things like that work. Like I said, changing a character where the personality, the look, and the overall everything about the figure, or the character, is no longer what he was. It means that they're no longer the same character. Just like Hound in the Age of Extinction movie. That's not how Hound ever acted in the G1 show. Ever. Bulkhead in Animated and Prime definitely acted like that. And that's why I always say he's Bulkhead. And that's why, the Prime Bumblebee and the movie Bumblebee they're not Bumblebee. It's not Bumblebee, so... Can we have our Scout back? Please? Please?